U.S. President Donald Trump's national security advisor says the deadly violence that broke out at a white supremacists rally in Charlottesville, Virginia meets the definition of terrorism. H.R. McMaster, in an interview on ABC News, described the car ramming into a crowd of counter-protesters Saturday that killed a 32-year-old woman as a criminal act that may be motivated by this hatred and bigotry. 19 others were injured and 2 Virginia State Police troopers who had been monitoring the unrest from the air were killed in a helicopter crash. In pictures rallies in aftermath of Charlottesville deadly violence, the U.S. Justice Department opened a civil rights investigation into the day of violence at the Unite the Right rally where white nationalists, many of them supporters of President Donald Trump, clashed with counter-protesters on the streets of the college town 160 kilometers southwest of Washington. The white supremacists carried signs and chanted slogans against racial minorities and Jews, engaging the counter-protesters in hours of club and fist fights, rock throwing and sprays of chemical irritants. Trump condemns violence during the violence, and later in the day, Trump condemned the disturbance but did not criticize by name any of the white nationalist groups who staged the rally, drawing a wide rebuke across the U.S. political spectrum for his tepid response. On Sunday, the White House said the president was condemning all forms of violence, bigotry and hatred, including white supremacists, the racist Ku Klux Klan, neo-Nazis and all extremist groups. Trump's eldest daughter, Ivanka Trump, a White House advisor, said in a Twitter comment, "There should be no place in society for racism, white supremacy and neo-Nazis. We must all come together as Americans and be one country united." Charlottesville. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, the head of the Justice Department and the country's top law enforcement official, said, "The violence and deaths in Charlottesville strike at the heart of American law and justice. When such actions arise from racial bigotry and hatred, they betray our core values and cannot be tolerated." Jason Kessler, a prominent white nationalist who organized the rally, on Sunday blamed Charlottesville officials for failing to prevent the violence from occurring, but condemned it. But just as he said that city officials violated white nationalists' free speech rights by calling off the official rally, shouting counter-protesters surrounded him, forcing him to end his brief statement. A terrorist attack. The streets of Charlottesville were quiet Sunday. Charlottesville Mayor Mike Steiner told NBC the killing of Heather Heyer was a terrorist attack with a car used as a weapon. The car's driver, James Alex Fields Jr., from the Midwestern state of Ohio, was arrested and charged with murder and other offenses. Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe visited 2 Charlottesville churches to talk about the violence, a day after he told the white nationalists, many of them from out of state, that they were not welcome in Virginia and to go home. He had declared a state of emergency on Saturday after fights broke out between armor-clad, shield-carrying white nationalist demonstrators gathered to protest the removal of a Confederate statue and similarly armed counter-protesters. "I have a message to all the white supremacists and the Nazis who came into Charlottesville today. Our message is plain and simple: go home," McAuliffe said at a news conference. "You are not wanted in this great Commonwealth. Shame on you. The acts and rhetoric in Charlottesville over past 24 hours are unacceptable and must stop. A right to speech is not a right to violence," he tweeted. Trump, speaking Saturday from his golf resort in New Jersey, condemned the egregious display of hatred, bigotry and violence on many sides in Charlottesville. He called for a swift restoration of law and order in the city, adding no citizen should ever fear for their safety and security. Hundreds from both sides were involved in Saturday's violence, throwing punches as well as water bottles and other items. Police used tear gas to separate participants, but critics said police did not move decisively to keep the protesting groups separate from each other to prevent the violence from spiraling. Before the Saturday violence, torch-bearing white nationalists marched through the University of Virginia campus on Friday night and gathered around the statue of General Robert E. Lee, a Confederate Civil War hero. The city voted in April to remove the statue, a move being taken by many U.S. cities against such Confederate memorials. Since then, Charlottesville has been a focus of white nationalist protests. One demonstrator at Saturday's protest, who did not give his name, told VOA, "We want to keep the statue because we think that it is an important symbol of our heritage and our people. It is meaningful. Its meaning is implicitly connected to white people, in preserving our heritage and preserving the white race, our white heroes. Robert E. Lee is one of those heroes. In pictures Charlottesville rocked by white nationalist protests. Casey Landrum, however, from the counter-protest group, said, "I am here because white nationalists, white supremacists, Nazis, whatever you call them, they are the same thing. They represent the structures of evil, which in this case is white supremacy, and that is an assault on all of us. Unless we stand up against that, they are going to continue to harm us all." Anush Avatisian contributed to this report.